The Buddha taught the noble truth to me. I see reality, and with
Brothers and sisters in the Dhamma, Sukhi Hontu, thank you for joining us again this morning for another session of the Voices of Blooms. Right now, you can always wish each other in the comment box. To those who have joined us for the first time, the digital team, wish you have refreshing opening video and improvement to our online Dhamma events. This segment, we are calling it Voices of Blooms. In this segment, we are featuring the talented songwriters or composers and singers of Buddhist songs. The groups of composers or singers will then be introduced in this segment. They will tell us about themselves or the group or about the song. What are their inspirations regarding themselves, their involvement? This segment will also help to publicize Buddhist songs as wide as possible. It will also serve as an encouragement to young, talented Buddhists to join in, either to sing or to promote the Dhamma. Brothers and sisters, this morning I would like to introduce you another singer from the iGEMs. I'd like to introduce to you a very young, talented singer, Didi Aiden. Hi, Didi Aiden. How are you? Glad to see you this morning.
Sukhi Hontu, Brother Chuan. Glad to see you this morning as well.
Hi, Didi Aiden. I understand that you are the new generation of the singers at iGEMs. Would you like to tell us how you get involved in the Dhamma in the first place, and later to sing Dhamma songs? Over to you, Didi Aiden.
Okay. So it all started when I was in first year of college, which was at year 2012. That was my first time being exposed to the Dhamma. So I first joined KMBS as a student, just a normal student, joining their classes, getting to know what Buddhism is all about and stuff. And then after that, I felt, it is interesting. And then continuously, I just go on and on and on until where I am today. So at 18, I was first exposed. And then when I was at 24, I'm already part of the facilitating team to actually organize the Sunday school. And then after that, in iGEMs, I first joined in year 2017. How it all came about was Brother Daniel, the founding member of iGEMs, actually invited me and said that, hey, Brother Aiden, are you interested to join iGEMs to play music instruments and all? Because at that point, I was just in the orchestra performing for the Selangor Stateway Sub in year 2017. And then after that, he just approached me personally and I'm like, hey, why not? So I just went to BGF on any other Tuesdays. Then we actually just jam. And after that, I felt that it was something that I enjoyed, besides learning the Dhamma, as well as I can actually, I really love singing. Yeah, this is something I really love, playing music instruments, singing. This is why I joined iGEMs until today. Yeah.
Didi Aiden, that is great. You you didn't stop after you have learned the Dhamma when you were much younger, and you join in singing Buddhist song. And with that, I'd like to congratulate you for taking the great effort in doing that. Well, I felt that you can give a very good example to many young people. Maybe you can tell us what instruments do you play in your free time, and perhaps you can tell us some inspiring words to those who are aspiring to join in to sing Buddhist songs. What do you think?
I feel that the younger generation, they are not, they are not exposed to Buddhist music as much. But currently, the younger ones are exposed, like the kids, the children, the SDS kids. But for youths, they may, or some may not be involved, or are being exposed to the Buddhist music. During my free time, I usually play the violin. I play the violin as well as the saxophone, and then on most of the time, I just sing whenever I feel like singing. When I'm driving, when I'm in the shower or whatsoever. It is something to actually reduce my stress level, because I believe that good Buddhist music and music itself actually calm our minds. And then I learn much more through music, because I like to actually analyze the lyrics, the words, and all. So I start to reflect. And then on, it became a habit. Then I learned the Dhamma through music. Not just music itself, but Dhamma through music, which makes me it's easier for me to learn, I believe, because it's like partly an interest and as well as one hobby. So I would truly encourage the younger generations, the youths, the teenagers, to actually listen more to Buddhist music, because never try, never know. Once you have listened to it, and who knows, you may, if let's say you are inspired and you want to join one part of us, feel free to just contact us through Facebook, through Instagram. We'll be there to actually reply to you, respond to you. So please feel free to come and join us. Thank you.
For every end there's a start. Like every smile warms the heart. 'Cause the truth will shine through. Faith will guide you, and love will see you home.
With every breath there's an end, yet we'll be happy, my friend, 'cause the truth will shine through. Faith will guide you, and love will see you home.
I must thank you for the love that you have given me, and your smile has given wings to me and set me free. I'll remember you as clearly as I see you here today. I'll be strong again, and I'll be on my way.
I'll recall your words of wisdom when I sleep tonight. I will act
Wonderful song, wonderful song. Love will see you home. Did you notice the lyrics of it? Were so meaningful. How do you feel about this song? Please, you may ask question or you want to comment about the song. It has been widely accepted. Everybody loves this song. I would say is that the tune of it is very good, and so is the message. You can use this music, get this song to be played in your events at your society. Use it to attract the children to sing along on your Sunday Dhamma school or your other events. Chinese New Year is coming. We can collect some of these Buddhist songs to play when we are gathering together. Refer to your society's Facebook to all the information, or refer to the Facebook of the iGems where you can get these songs. The singers are young, and we are also looking forward to more and more young adults to join in to compose or to sing Buddhist songs. It is a very good way to propagate Buddhism in a new way or in a very easy and appealing way. Brothers and sisters in the Dhamma, I would like to thank Didi Aiden again for spending a lot of his time dedicating his effort in singing Buddhist songs. Well done, Didi Aiden. We'll see you again. So for today, that's the end of the Voices of Blooms. And afterwards, we will continue with our usual Sunday Buddha Puja. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Namo Buddhaya, brothers and sisters in the Dhamma. A very good morning to all of you. Nice to see you again on another Sunday Facebook Live. To those of you who have just joined us, a very good morning to you. And I can see that many of you have put your comments and wish each other in the comment box. Sadhu to you. To have clarity of the audio, visual, please check on your Wi-Fi reception. If you encounter problem with poor audio and visual, it may be due to the poor Wi-Fi reception. You may need to refresh your computer or Wi-Fi devices. During this online Buddha Puja service, remember to have a calm mind, even if you are encountering the problem. Welcome to SJBA 33rd online Sunday Buddha Puja service. We organize this weekly online puja service in order to give an opportunity to Buddhist devotees near and far to continue with our Buddhist faith and practices and to listen to Dhamma sharing. Let us prepare ourselves by sitting comfortably, relax our bodies, and compose our mind. Let go of thinking about the past and future and be in the present moment. Brothers and sisters, I shall hand over to our puja leader, Sister Anne. Over to you, Sister Anne.
Thank you, Brother Chuan. Good morning, brothers and sisters in the Dhamma. Let us begin our Sunday Buddha Puja. May I invite Brother Chim to make the offerings to the Buddha. Brothers and sisters in the Dhamma, if you have prepared the offerings, you may light your candles or oil lamps and make your offerings to the Buddha. To the other devotees, let us place our palms together in Anjali and have a calm mind. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Brothers and sisters in the Dhamma, let us pay homage to the Triple Gem. Buddhang pujemi, Dhammang pujemi, Sanghang pujemi. Brothers and sisters in the Dhamma, together let us take refuge in the Triple Gem and observe the 5 precepts. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhang saranang gacchami, Dhammang saranang gacchami, Sanghang saranang gacchami. Dutiyampi Buddhang saranang gacchami, Dutiyampi Dhammang saranang gacchami, Dutiyampi Sanghang saranang gacchami. Tatiyampi Buddhang saranang gacchami, Tatiyampi Dhammang saranang gacchami, Tatiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami. Panatipata veramani padang samadhiyami. Adinadana veramani padang samadhiyami. Kami sumichacara veramani padang samadhiyami. Musavada veramani padang samadhiyami. Suramiraya Majapamadatthana veramani padang samadhiyami. Imani pancha padani samadhiyami. Imani pancha padani samadhiyami. Imani pancha padani samadhiyami. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Iti piso bhagava arahang samma sambuddho vichacharana sampanno sugato lokavidu anuttaro purisa dhammasarati sattha deva manussanang Buddho Bhagavati. Swakato Bhagavata Dhammo Sanditiko Akaliko Ehi Passiko Uppanaiko Pacchatthang Veditabu Vinyuhiti. Supatipanno bhagavato savaka sangho. Ujupatipanno bhagavato savaka sangho. Nyayapatipanno bhagavato savaka sangho. Sami Chipatipanno Bhagavato Savaka Sangho. Yadidang Chattari Purisa Yugani Atta Purisa Puggala Esa Bhagavato Savaka Sangho. Ahuneyo Pahuneyo, Dakineyo, Anjali Karaniyo, Anuttarang Punyaketang Lokasati. Vandami Chetiyang Sabbang Sabbatani Supatititang Saririka Dhatu Mahabodhing Buddha Rupang Sakalang Sada. Yassa Mule Nisinova Sabbari Vichayang Aka Pato Sabbanyotang Satta Vande Tang Bodhipadapang. Ime ete mahabodhi lokanattena pujita ahampite namassami bodhi raja namatute Ganasarappaditena dipena tamadansina tilokadipang sambuddhang pujayami tamonudang Ganda sambara yuttena dupenahang sugandina pujaye pujaniyang tang puja bhajana muttamang Vanaganda gunopetang etang kusuma santating pujayami munindassa siripada saroruhe pujemi buddhang kusumina nena punyena mettena chahotu mokkang Pupang milayati yatha idang me kayo tatayati vinassa bhavang Adivasetu no bante paniyang parikapitang anukampang upadaya patigan hatu muttamang kayena vacha cittena pamadena maya katang Acayang kamame bante Duripanya tathagata Kayena vacha cittena pamadena maya katang Acayang kamame dhamma santitika akalika Kayena vacha cittena pamadena maya katang acayang kamame sangha supatipanna anuttara Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Brothers and sisters, this morning we are very pleased to have Brother Chim, Siew, Choon be with us for this Sunday Buddha Puja. Brother Chim will be conducting a Dhamma sharing with us. Please allow me to introduce Brother Chim, Siew, Choon. Brother Chim is a founder member of Subang Jaya Buddhist Association. He was the president of the association from 1992 to 2020. Working with his team of dedicated members to build SJVA into a vibrant, friendly, and caring Dhamma center. He was also the president of TBCM from 2012 to 2016. He is currently serves in the Selangor Buddhist Development Council of Malaysia as vice president. In recognition of his contributions to the Buddhist community, he was given the Nalanda Award for Leadership Integrity. Brothers and sisters, in this Dhamma talk, if you have any questions regarding the sharing, please type your questions in the comment section. We shall read the questions after the Dhamma talk, but however, please note that we might not be able to answer all your questions due to time constraint. Brothers and sisters, with respect, we shall invite Brother Chim Choon to share the Dhamma with us with the title, The Path to the Deathless. Over to you, Brother Chim.
Namo Buddhaya, brothers and sisters in the Dhamma, good morning. I'm very happy to have this very rare occasion to give a Dhamma talk on a Sunday morning Puja service in SJPA. Because our Dhamma talks on Sunday Puja services are normally reserved for the venerable members of the Sangha, except for the second Sunday, which is reserved for our lay Dhamma advisor, Brother Dan Siang Chai. Only on those occasions where normally we are not able to invite our venerable members of Sangha or Brother Siang Chai, then only we will invite other speakers. So for this morning talk, I've chosen the topic, the path to the deathless, or the path to no more aging, no more sickness, and no more death. But I think this topic is probably not a very popular topic to talk on or to listen to, because many people somehow are not comfortable to talk about death or dying. To many people, especially to some Chinese, the subject of death or dying is a taboo subject to talk on. Visiting others who are in bereavement too is a taboo. They won't do so unless they are close friends or relatives. Many feel very uncomfortable to attend wake or funeral ceremonies. After the visit, they will go for a cleansing ritual before they step into their own house to cleanse away the inauspicious. Some of us are brought up that way, including myself. Some of our parents or grandparents would discourage us to attend a wake or funeral unless it is for family members or relatives or close friends. In my younger days, also I am not comfortable to attend this type of wake or funeral ceremonies unless for close friends. However, when I became the president of SJPA in 1992, I felt that it is part of my duty to visit my members who are critically ill or who are in bereavement, and also eventually help to organize wake and funeral services led by the venerable members of the Sangha and etc. I started to see many dead people or people who are dying. Initially, I was feeling very uncomfortable to do so, but slowly I get used to it. In fact, attending all those wake and funeral ceremonies make me better understand the nature of life, that we have to go through this process of birth, aging, sickness, and death. No one can escape from this process. I learned to accept this reality. And in fact, I started to make my own preparations too, to prepare for my own death. I prepare my will, I listed down my assets for my children, just in case that eventuality happened suddenly. I even bought my own funeral package and a pair of niche for me and my wife at the Nirvana Memorial. And of course, I try to take care of my own karma, trying to abstain from evil, do good, and also to purify the mind. All this make me more peaceful, and I recommend to everyone to do so, to attend to the sick, the dying, the weak, and the funeral. It helps others to relieve their suffering, and also it helps you in your spiritual cultivation and be more peaceful in your life. Next, please. This is a photograph of a family dinner on the 6th of August 2017. That's 5 weeks before my father passed away. I still remember my father's behavior a few days or few weeks before he passed away. He was very peaceful, even to the last few days of his life, with no sign of fear or worry. My father was just a very simple man. He was an orphan because his mother passed away when he was less than 1 month old, and his father passed away when he was less than 10 years old. He lived a life of poverty for, I think, probably about 60 years, but still he managed to bring up 6 children who supported him during his old age. He passed away on the 13th of September at the age of 95. Actually, he was staying in Kampa, my hometown, but a few months before he passed away, actually it's after my mother passed away, he was very lonely and very sad. So a few months after that, I brought him to stay with me in Subang Jaya. Other than very weak in both his legs, he was very fit physically and very sharp mentally. I was in the organizing committee of the National Buddhist Conference, which was scheduled to be held on the 15th to 17th of September at Sungai Petani, Kedah. The conference was on the Puja Valley civilization. I think you may know that there was a big Buddhist and Hindu civilization in the Puja Valley as early as about 2,000 years ago in Kedah. It's an almost forgotten civilization. The Malaysia Buddhist Festival and the Selangor Buddhist Development Council organized the conference to educate fellow Buddhists on this early Buddhist and Hindu civilization in Malaysia. I was supposed to lead a bus up north to Kedah. So on the 10th of September, about 4 days before the event, my sister came to my house. So I requested my sister to fetch my father back to Kampa for 1 week. And I was surprised my father packed up everything in his room and brought everything back home. During the few months he was staying with me, occasionally he still go back to Kampa. But normally he would just took along just a few items. But this time he packed everything, just everything, leaving the room empty to go back to Kampa. When he reached home, he told my second brother that he did not have many days left to live, that he will go away very soon. My second brother naturally took it just like a joke because my father was very healthy. That night, my second brother told me the night before he passed away, my father passed away on the 13th of September 2017. On the night before he passed away, my second brother still packed the food that he liked for my father. My father enjoyed his dinner, having his dinner, watched his regular TV. Normally he watched until 11 o'clock at night. But that night he watched about 8 something to 9 o'clock. And then he went back to bed. My brother was a bit surprised and asked him why he was going to bed so early. My father said the night was cold. So he wanted to go to sleep early. And the next morning when my brother bought the breakfast for my father, surprisingly, he was surprised to see my father kneeling down beside his bed, but with the face on the bed. He has passed away peacefully. I don't know why he was in that posture, just a prayer posture. But my father actually seldom pray. My father is not a religious man, but he was a good man, living a good life all these years. I think there are many people who remain very calm and pass away peacefully as well. But there are others who are afraid to die. Such people are very vulnerable when they are dying, and many evangelists of other religions take this opportunity to convert them when they are about to die because of their fear and the confusion. Next, please. I think all of you are very familiar with this. First emperor of China. His name is Chim. Qin Shi Huang, or Shi Huangdi. His original name is Ying Zhen. He lived in China about 2,200 years ago, and after unifying the whole of China by conquering the other warring states, he did many things of wonder during his short reign of about 11 years old. He became emperor at the age of 38 and reigned only for 11 years. During that 11 years, he built the Great Wall of China, not the whole, of course, a part of the Great Wall of China, and the famous 34-kilometer Lingqu Canal. He built his own mausoleum in Xi'an. If you go there, you can see a huge mausoleum and huge, what you call the place where he kept all the terracotta soldiers and also the horses to protect his tomb. Shi Huangdi standardized many things in China, like weights and measures, the written Chinese language and laws, for which many Chinese, many years later, benefited from his decision. He was a very powerful man, but thousands of people died because of his command, his decision. Yet he himself was afraid to die. He sent thousands of people to search for the elixir of life, the portions of the medicine or the drinks that can prolong his life forever, to be able to live eternally. It is said that some of these people travel all the way, even to Japan, and eventually settled there. They did not come back because they could not find this elixir of life that could prolong the emperor life forever. So if they go back, they will most probably be executed by the emperor. So they dare not go back to see the emperor. Eventually, and ironically, Shi Huangdi died after consuming one of the supposedly elixir of life, which contains cinnabar. I think you all know cinnabar contains mercury sulfide, which in Chinese medicine is supposed to make our complexion looks good, supposed to prolong our life. But Shi Huangdi died because of probably overdosage of this mercury sulfide. He died because of that. I think many of you are familiar with this part of history, right? Another famous story, next please. Which many of us may be also very familiar, happened during the Buddha's times about 2,600 years ago. If you go to the Brickfield Temple, Brickfield Mahavihara, you will see this Buddha Rupa together with his two disciples at the prayer hall. You can see there are two disciples, one on the right and one on the Buddha's right and one on his left. One is very fair, the other one is the darker complexion. The one very fair is Venerable Sariputta, and the other one is Moggallana, Venerable Moggallana. I think we are all very familiar that these are the two chief disciples of the Buddha. One is foremost in wisdom, only next to the Buddha, and the other one is foremost in psychic power, only next to the Buddha. They were both very good friends. They were born actually on the same day at two neighboring villages in northern India. Two neighboring village with both with a very famous family. One Upatissa and the other one Korita. And the two of them were born on the same day. And the family, because they are the families are foremost, the family in Upatissa and Korita respectively, therefore named the two baby Upatissa and Korita respectively. But Upatissa eventually was called Sariputta after he been ordained by the Buddha. And Moggallana was eventually, Korita was eventually named Mongalana. The two of them were born to rich families in the two villages. And when they grow up, they will receive very good education, very good training, very well trained, and they have many, many followers. And one day, the two of them went to enjoy themselves at a festival they call the Hilltop Festival. So there were many, many programs. The two of them enjoyed themselves very much. The first day, they were laughing, they were very joyous, very happy. Second day, they were also laughing all the way, very joyful all the way. But by the third day, the two of them became very contemplative. They keep quiet, they start to think, start to reflect, start to contemplate whether this is what life is all about, that you just enjoy the life as it is. And when Kolita saw Upatissa being so contemplative, he asked him, he said, friend, what happened to you? Today, you don't look so happy. You look so contemplative and sad. What are you thinking? And Upatissa, or this Sariputta, replied, I begin to think that all this enjoyment will not be lasting. That one day we'll grow sick, we grow old, we die eventually. Why not we go to look for a way that we can be free from this aging, sickness, and death? Is there a way to the deathless that we don't need to die? And Kolita or Mongalana also said the same. Yeah, I'm still thinking the same. Why not we go and look for a teacher who can show us the way to the deathless, that we don't need to die eventually. And so both of them went out to search for such teachers. In India, those days, there were many, many famous teachers. Of course, the Buddha himself is one. There are also other teachers like Nada Buddha, like this Alara Kalama, like this Udakarama Buddha, and so on and so forth. Then the two of them went forward and searched for a teacher that can show them the way to the deathless. And they found a famous teacher at the time called Sanjaya. And so they went to learn under Sanjaya. And after a short while, because both of them are highly cultivated in their mental faculty, in a short while they learn everything from the Venerable Sanjaya. And then they found that whatever they learned still cannot lead them to the deathless state. It still does not liberate them from the process of aging, sickness, and death. So they went to see the teacher, Sanjaya, and asked, is that all the doctrine that you know, that you have taught us? And Sanjaya, yes, I've taught you all that I know, and I'm willing to share all those my disciples with you, that we teach them together. But this is not what they want. So Moggallana and Sariputta decided to ask for excuse or apology from the teacher, that they wanted to go away to look for another teacher. And then they went off in separate ways, but telling each other that when they have found someone, a teacher who could tell them the way to be free from aging, sickness, and death, if they could find this deathless state, then they would come back to tell or inform the other. And so they went separate ways. And Sariputta went on his own. And at that moment of time, it happened that one of the five disciples, the first five disciples of the Buddha, Asaje, after learning from the Buddha the Dhamma, though just for a short while, he has already become an Arahant. And then this Sariputta met him. And then he saw this Asaje is so special because he was so serene. His face was so serene, so dignified, so majestic, so special. So Sariputta think or thought, this must be someone who already found the deathless state, you know. And after attending to him, after the Sariputta, when Saje has taken his lunch, and when he's ready, Sariputta approached him and asked him, you have found the deathless state. Who is your teacher? And what did he teach? And Asaja say, I didn't know, I don't know much, because I only learned just recently from my teacher. So Sariputta asked him, whatever you know, can you please just share with me? And Asaja replied, he said, the teacher taught all things arises from causes. The teacher, the Tathagata, taught how they arise and how they pass away. After listening to only these two verses, Sariputta already gained the first stage of sainthood. He has already become a Sotapan. Asaja continued with what he said. All things arise from causes. The Tathagata taught how they arise and how they pass away. This is what the great recluse taught. So, just listening the first two verses, or just two lines, Sariputta has already become a Sotapan. And he was very grateful, and told Venerable Asaja that he would like to go and become a disciple of Asaja teacher, the Buddha. But before that, he would like to go back and see the other friend and bring him along to come and pay respect to the Buddha. So he went back to look for Mongalana or Korita. Eventually, he found Mongalana and told Mongalana about this, what he has found. But the two of them being very grateful to his former teacher Sanjaya, he went back to look for Sanjaya and asked Sanjaya, or told Sanjaya about this, that they have found the Buddha, and asked Sanjaya to come along to learn from the Buddha. But Sanjaya said, I am already a teacher of so many students. I cannot go back to become a student. But Mongalana and Sariputta say, but then this teacher is so special. He can show you the way to the deathless, straight to the no more aging, no more sickness, and no more death. But Sanjaya say, I ask them, what do you think in this world? Are there more people who are wise, or are there more people who are foolish? Are there more fools than wise people? And both of them reply, of course, in the world, there are more fools than those who are wise. Then Sanjaya say, let the fool come to me, let the wise go to see the Buddha. And so he refused to follow the two, Mongalana and Sariputta, to go and see the Buddha. And Mongalana and Sariputta, together with some others, then travel all the way to see the Buddha and ask the Buddha to ordain them. The Buddha saw them coming from far away and told his disciples that this pair is an excellent pair. Eventually become his very excellent disciples. And the Buddha ordained them. 1 week later, Mongalana became an Arahant. 2 weeks later, 2 weeks after the two of them met the Buddha, Sariputta also became an Arahant. An Arahant is one who has been totally free from all those defilements that cause us to be reborn again and again. So Arahant is one who has reached the deathless state. Next, please. Next, please. The Buddha found this deathless state on the full moon day of May, about 2,600 years ago, when after more than 6 years of struggling to seek for a way to the liberation from aging, sickness, and death, the Buddha eventually made a firm resolution while sitting under the Bodhi tree that he will not budge, he will not get up from the Bodhi tree unless and until he found the way. until he has gained enlightenment and found a way to the liberation from aging, sickness, and death. And I think you know the story. The Buddha overcome his all those temptations of Mara, and then his mind become more and more concentrated, more and more calm, more and more clarity to see things as they really are, and the wisdom begin to unfold. On the first, and this took place over the 3 watches of the night. At the first watch of the night, the Buddha see himself in his past life, many past lives, 1, 2, 3, 4, hundreds and thousands of past lives. And the Buddha saw how he was born in his past life, sometimes as a human being, sometimes as a deity in the heavenly world, sometimes as a lion, and so on and so forth, because of the past karma. And the Buddha saw also how the world system arise and pass away in many eons of contraction and expansion, as described in the Mahasatchika Sutta. Right? And then on the second watch of the night, the Buddha saw how other beings also born again and again, and because of the past karma, they were born again as different form, different names, sometimes as a human being, sometimes as a heavenly being, sometimes as a spirit, sometimes in the animal kingdom, all dependent on the past karma. And then at the third watch of the night, that's from about 2 a.m. to about 6 a.m., the Buddha penetrated into the Paticca Samuppada. Next, please. I think you are very familiar with this Paticca Samuppada. The Buddha penetrated into this, the cause or the origination of all this aging and sickness and death, and eventually found the origin of all this dukkha and discovered the Four Noble Truths and became the Buddha. All right. So go back, please. Yeah, I think many of you, if you attended many of those chanting sessions, especially at the funeral or at the wake chanting, you probably listen or even partake in this chanting. Right? Avijja paccaya sankhara, sankhara paccaya vinyanang, vinyana paccaya nama rupang, nama rupa paccaya salayatanang, salayatana paccaya paso, pasa paccaya vedana, vedana paccaya tangha, tangha paccaya upadanang, upadana paccaya pawo, pawa paccaya jati, jati paccaya jara maranang, sokha paridewa, dukkha tomana supayasa sambhavanti, ewa metasa kevalasa, dukkha kantasa samutayo hoti. Next, please. Next, please. Next, please. Yeah, which is in English, dependent on ignorance arises karmic formations, dependent on karmic formations arises consciousness, dependent on consciousness arises mentality, dependent mentality and materiality, dependent on mentality and materiality arises the sixth sense space, dependent on sixth sense space arises contact, dependent on contact arises feeling, dependent on feeling arises craving, depending on craving arises clinging, depending on clinging arises process of becoming, dependent on the process of becoming arises birth. The process of becoming is bhava. All right. Clinging is upadana. Craving is tangha. These are very important words that we need to remember. All right. So dependent on the process of becoming bhava, there is birth. Birth arises, and dependent on birth, when birth arises, aging, sickness, and death also arises. All right, sorrow, lamentation, pain, grief, and despair also arises. This thus the whole mass of suffering arises This is what the Buddha penetrate forward and backward until he understands fully what this dependent origination is all about. That all this birth, all this birth, aging, sickness, and death is because we were born. It's because we were born jati. Therefore, we have all this decay, death, sorrow, lamentation, pain, grief, and despair. And birth is because of the process of becoming, called bhava. If there's no process of becoming, there's no birth. And this process of becoming bhava is because of our clinging, upadana. Because we cling on to the mind, we cling on to the body, we cling on to the aggregate of the mind and body. Therefore, because we cannot let go, we have this process of becoming, and therefore we are born again and again and again. And this clinging is because we are craving, because of the energy of craving. Therefore, we cling on, and and therefore we have this process of reborn again and again and again. All right. So the origin of all this suffering is because of craving, due to our ignorance of the true nature of existence, that everything is anicca, dukkha, and anatta. This is what the Buddha discovered on the third watch of the night. About 2,600 years ago, the Buddha discovered this Four Noble Truths. Next, please. So the Buddha discovered this Four Noble Truths: dukkha, ariya, satcha. Dukkha, suffering; ariya, noble; satcha is truth or the reality, the noble reality of suffering, dukkha. Dukkha samudayo ariya satcha, the origin of dukkha. Dukkha nirodha ariya satcha, the cessation of dukkha. And dukkha nirodha kamini patipatta ariya satcha, the noble truth of the path leading to the cessation of suffering. Next, please. After discovering this Four Noble Truths, the Buddha was contemplating initially whether he should or should not go ahead to teach this and other dhammas, because he found that this is very profound. Not many people would be able to understand if he go ahead to teach what he has discovered. But there's one deity from the Brahma heaven called the Brahma Sahampati. They came down all the way from heaven to see the Buddha and appeal to the Buddha 3 times that please go ahead to teach this Dhamma, because there are still people who have very little dust in their eyes. They can still see the truth if the truth is being taught to them. And the Buddha surveyed the world. Yeah, there are still people who can understand the Dhamma if taught to them. So the Buddha decided to go ahead to teach the Dhamma, even though not many people would appreciate, not many people would understand. He will still go ahead to teach the Dhamma, just like what our late Chief Reverend Venerable Dhammananda used to say. Even if there's only one person waiting for him in Subang Jaya Buddhist Association, he will still come over to teach the Dhamma. That is the spirit of going forth to teach the Dhamma. So the Buddha, 2 months after his enlightenment, taught this first sermon to the first 5 disciples of the Buddha. The first 5 disciples, I think you know, Kondanya, Patiya, Wapa, Mahanama, and Asaji are the first 5 disciples of the Buddha. Learn from the Buddha the first sermon, Dhamma Chakka Pawatana Sutta, on the full moon day of the 7th month of the calendar. Next, please. The Buddha started by telling the 5 of them to avoid the 2 extremes, because for so many years they have been trying to reach or trying to learn or trying to attain the deathless state by practicing self-torture, self-mortification, which is very common in India those days. That by practicing or observing self-mortification, that torture the mind and the body, hardly eating anything sometimes for days, thinking that that's a way that they should that they could eventually attain the deathless state. But the Buddha told them to avoid all these two extremes. Number one is self-mortification. Number two is self-indulgence in all the pleasures. Or you enjoy. That one also eventually will lead you to be to suffer more. So the Buddha say avoid these two extremes and cultivate the middle path. And that middle path is the noble eightfold path. The Buddha say the eightfold path, the noble eightfold path, will eventually lead us to be free from dukkha, to be free from birth, aging, sickness, and death, and all those suffering that goes along with birth. And the Buddha say, monks, and these monks, is a noble truth of suffering. Birth is suffering, old age is suffering, illness is suffering, death is suffering. All right, this is translated as birth is suffering. Many people may not agree. There are some people who say this is not a good translation. They say birth, dukkha should be translated as what? Can't remember the term that I use. But anyway, what the Buddha say? Itang ko pana, itang ko this pana en, bikawe monks, dukkang suffering, Ariya Satchang. Ariya is noble, Satchang is reality or truth. All right. So, and this monks is the noble truth of suffering. Jati pi dukkha. The Buddha say, jati, birth. Pi is also, birth also suffering. Jara pi dukkha. Old age also suffering. Back please. Effort, back please. Jara pi dukkha. Vyadi pi dukko. Maranang pi dukkang. All right. So B is also, so birth also suffering. So you can translate as there is birth in suffering. There's suffering in birth. There's also suffering in old age. There's suffering in illness. There's suffering in death. I think this is probably a better translation. You can say that birth is therefore subject to suffering. Old age is also subject to suffering. Illness is also subject to suffering. And death is also subject to suffering. So that one, I think, probably is a better translation, because some people don't agree. They say birth is happiness. Many people have so much joy in birth. But then if you look at how the mother suffer during the labor and how the children or the baby come out, the first thing they do is they will cry. There's so much suffering also involved. So it says jatipi dukkha. There's birth, there's suffering in birth, or birth is also subject to suffering. I think probably many people will agree. If you say birth is suffering, sometimes people may not agree. All right. But anyway, the Buddha continues to say, Apiyahi sampayoko tukko, association with unpleasant is suffering. Piyahi vipayoko tukko, dissociation from the pleasant is suffering. Yang pichang na napati tang pi tukang, not getting what desires is suffering. Sankitena, in brief, in conclusion, pancha upatana kanta dukkha. Pancha, you know, is five. Pancha sila, 5. Kanta is the aggregate. All right. Upatana is clinging. 5 clinging, aggregate. if direct translation, dukkha. All right. So in short, clinging to the 5 aggregates is suffering. All right. What 5 aggregates you are talking about? It's the 5 aggregates of the mind and the body, or form and the mind. All right. The 5 aggregates of mind and body, which is consisting of the aggregates, or what they call the unit particles of the body and the unit particles of the mind. Unit particles of the body is called rupa kalapa. Unit particles of the mind is called sambayutta dhamma. The Buddha say that the unit particles of the body and the unit particles of the mind are all just made up of elements. And these elements come together because of this upadana. Upadana is because of a craving. Our craving is because of a feeling, all right? And so on and so forth, because of our ignorance of the true nature of existence. Therefore, we have this clinging, we cannot let go. When we die also, we cannot let go. We still carry on, and therefore we have to be reborn again and again. Next, please. Next, please. The Buddha say that these are the 6 elements: the earth element, water element, fire element, air element, space element, and consciousness element. Dependent on these 6 elements, a baby was born. Descent of an embryo occurs. When this descent takes place, there's name and there's form, there's mind and there's body. Therefore, a life is born. When this life is born, the 6 sense spaces arises. And when this 6 sense spaces arises, there's contact. And when there's contact, there's feeling. And when there's feeling, there is suffering. All right. So the Buddha taught us this in Anguttara Nikaya 3.61.3. Because we are born, therefore we are subject to all this suffering again and again. Why are we born? Because of our upadana to this pancha khandha, which actually consists of the 6 element dhatu. The earth, water, earth element is called the Patavi dhatu, Apo dhatu, Vayu dhatu, and Tejo dhatu, and the space element Akasa dhatu, and also Vijnana dhatu. Basically, all these consciousness come together, all these elements come together because of our upadana. We cannot let go. And if we can let go, then these elements would not come together and a new life would not be born. So there's no rebirth. There's no rebirth. There's no aging, sickness, and death. All right? Next, please. So this is the noble truth of the origin of suffering, the Buddha say. It is because of this craving, tanha, which is potent for rebirth and is accompanied by pleasure and lust, seeking fresh delight, now here, now there, namely craving for sense pleasure, craving for becoming, craving for non-becoming. And because of this, therefore, we are born again and again because of our tanha. And because of tanha, we have the upadana. And upadana, because of upadana, the elements come together, and therefore the process of becoming takes place, bhava, and therefore jati takes place, we are born, and therefore we are subject to this aging, sickness, and death again and again. Next, please. And the Buddha say, and this monk is a noble truth of the cessation of suffering. It is complete cessation of that very craving. When there's no more craving, when there's no more clinging, you give up, you let go, you abandon it, you release it, you detach from it, you attain the total cessation of suffering and total cessation of this state of aging, sickness, and death. And next, please. The way to the cessation of suffering. Next, please. Oh, sorry. If you attain the cessation of suffering, dukkha, then you attain the state of nibbana. The Buddha say, nibbana is ananta, infinite. Nibbana is supreme. Nibbana is safe. Nibbana is imperishable. Nibbana is immortal. Nibbana is peace. Nibbana is the highest refuge. And Nibbana paramang sukhang. Nibbana is the highest happiness. The Buddha say, as there's an unborn, unoriginated, unmade, and unconditioned, there's Nibbana. Therefore, an escape for the born, unoriginate, made, and conditioned, the samsara, is possible. Next, please. So, how to attain this state of cessation of dukkha? The Buddha say, this is the noble truth of the path that lead to the cessation of suffering, which is this very noble eightfold path, namely right view, right thought, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. Sama titi, sama sangkapo, sama vacha, sama kamanto, sama ajivo, sama vachayo, vayamo, sama sati, and sama samadhi. It is because of this noble eightfold path that the Buddha showed to us that we can be able to escape from this cycle of birth, aging, sickness, and death, and attain the deathless state. All right. So I think we are very familiar with all this, right? Speech, right action, which are all, in short, the essence of which is abstain from evil, do good, and purify the mind. I think this is something which many of us need to remember as a Buddhist, because sometimes to some people, a Buddhist is just to keep the 5 precepts or the 8 precepts and do meditation. That's not enough. The Buddha say we must follow the noble eightfold path. Right action, for example, does not mean right action, for example, no killing, abstain from killing. But it's not just abstain from killing. It's not just taking the precepts of not to kill. Instead of killing, one should, which is an evil action, so we abstain from evil action, one should also do the right thing. That is to do good. That is to try to save life, to help to relieve the suffering of those people who are suffering. Instead of taking what is not given, one should be more charitable. One should help those people who are poor. One should do more dana, Instead of just abstain from telling lie, one should be abstain from telling lie or harsh speech or gossiping or those slander. One should be involved in speeches which is gentle, full of metta, that promote concord instead of discord, and so on and so forth. So basically, not just to keep the precepts, that is not enough. Keeping the precepts is just abstaining from evil. But the Buddha say, abstain from evil, do good, and purify the mind. That is the way to the cessation of suffering. It is this very noble eightfold path that lead to the cessation of dukkha, birth, aging, sickness, and death, and all the other suffering associated with birth. Next, please. The Buddha say, this noble truth of suffering is to be understood. This noble truth of the origin of suffering is to abandon. This noble truth of cessation of suffering is to be realized. This noble truth of the path leading to cessation of suffering is to be cultivated. All right, this is very important. It's very important because for many years in the SJPA, sometimes when we organize Dhamma talks, all right, we are talking about next week or this coming Sunday, Dhamma talk is on the the 4 noble truths. Very few people will come. Very few people will come. I have understood. Some will say, I have already listened to this talk for so many times. I already know already. So no need to attend. Don't waste my time. So if you already know, it means you have fully understood. You have fully abandoned your original suffering. You have fully realized the cessation of suffering. Then you have really fully cultivated the noble eightfold path. Then you are already free from all this anger and hatred and all suffering, and eventually, and also attain the cessation of all this birth, aging, sickness, and death. That's the implication, all right? Because the Buddha say, this noble truth of suffering is not just to be learned. Not just to be learned. You have to try to understand. And not just try to understand. Eventually, you must fully understand, all right? To be fully understood. origin of suffering is not just to be learned. The truth of the origin of suffering is not just to be learned, but you have to try to abandon this origin of suffering, which is tangha, all right, craving, and causing the craving to the five aggregates, all right. So it has to be abandoned, and you have to be eventually fully abandon this origin of suffering, and you have to not just learn about the cessation of dukkha, but you must also realize the cessation of dukkha and fully realize the cessation of dukkha, and by not just learning the truth, the noble truth of the path leading to cessation of suffering, but you must cultivate, and it must be fully cultivated. All right. So these are basically the 3 stages and the 3 stages and the 3 phases and the 12 stages of what we should do, so that eventually we can be free from aging, sickness, and death. Next, please. The Buddha say, so long, monks, as in regard of these 4 noble truths under the 3 phases and the 12 aspects, in their essential nature, true knowledge and vision of mind was thoroughly purified. Then, so long, monks, I never claim that in this world, with its Deva, Mara, and Brahma, sorry, go back, please. Brother Alfred, go back. One more, okay, in front, go in front, please. Yeah. One more slide in front, please. In front, please. Forward, yeah. One more in front. One more. So the Buddha say, so long as I think something wrong. Anyway, the Buddha say, so long as he has not, with regard to this 4 noble truths under the 3 phases and 12 stages, back please. Back please, yeah. If he has not thoroughly understand or penetrated in this 4 noble truths, then he will never claim that in this world that he is the directly self-awakened to the unsurpassed perfect self-awakening. I mean, the Buddha said, if I have not fully penetrated into the 4 noble truths under the 3 phases and 12 aspects, I will not claim that I am the Buddha. I'm not claim that I have already attained the full enlightenment. Next, please. But so long, monks, when in regard to these 4 noble truths under the 3 phases, the 12 aspects in the essential nature, true knowledge and vision of mind was thoroughly purified. Then, monks, I claim that in this world, with its Deva, Mara, and Brahma, in this generation with ascetic and Brahmins, with its Devas and humans, that I am directly self-awakened to the unsurpassed perfect self-awakening. All right. So the Buddha said that because I have gone through these 3 phases and all the 12 stages, I have already fully cultivated the Noble Eightfold Path, and therefore I have really fully understood the truth of this dukkha and abandoned the origin of dukkha. Therefore, I have already attained the cessation of dukkha, and now, therefore, I am the fully enlightened one. I am an Arahant. I am the Buddha. I am the Sama Sambuddha. I'm the fully enlightened one. Next, please. So the Buddha say, true knowledge and vision in mind, in me, unshakable is my liberation. This is my last birth. Now there's no more becoming. All right, there's no more bhava. Next, please. And the Buddha has attained Nibbana, I mentioned just now. Next, please. Next, please. And therefore, the Buddha has already attained the deathless state, right? when he gained his enlightenment on that night of his enlightenment by contemplating on the Paticca Samuppada and realized the Four Noble Truths. Right? I think many of you are familiar with this story, how the Bodhisattva eventually become the Buddha on the full moon day of May and become the Buddha by penetrating and understanding this Four Noble Truths. Right? So this is the way that the Buddha taught us, that we want to be free from aging, sickness, and death. So this is a path that we should follow, that we should cultivate, right? But surprisingly, actually, it seems many people are not so interested to know about this path to the deathless. The Buddha, this path was taught by the Buddha for us to be able to attain the cessation of aging, sickness, and death. The Buddha only taught us we have to cultivate ourselves, we have to follow, we have to practice and cultivate this path to be fully cultivated, to understand fully the noble truth of dukkha and abandon the origin of dukkha so that we can attain the cessation of dukkha eventually. But the Buddha only shows us the way. We ourselves must walk the path. Many people, however, are so busy learning with so many other things, then learning how to liberate ourselves from this cycle of aging, sickness, and death. Instead of learning and cultivating the Four Noble Truths and the Noble Eightfold Path, to let go of a craving, let go of clinging to our body and to our mind. Many people are learning so many other things, right? So many things which may not be so essential. Just like for example, the story of I think you know the story of the professor and the fisherman. I've mentioned a few times before that one day this professor went for holiday, went to a fishing village, and then asked the fisherman to take a boat and fetch him to the high sea, to the sea outside, so that to deep sea, so that he can have do some fishing. And he was away from the shore, far away from the shore, and then was talking to the fisherman. I'm a professor. I have a PhD for cosmology. I have a PhD for oceanology, a PhD for astrology, and so on and so forth. All right, they're trying to tell the fisherman how much he knows, how much he has studied, how much he has learned. So he asked the fisherman, "Do you know what is cosmology?" The fisherman said, "No, I don't know. It is a study of the origin, development of the universe." How about meteorology? Do you know what's meteorology? The fisherman said, "No, sir, I don't know. What is that?" Is it? Or the study of weather, climate, seasons. The professor said, "I also have a PhD in oceanology. What is that?" Study of ocean, water, sea life. Then the professor boasts further. He said, "I also have a PhD in astrology, study of stars and planets. Do you know?" He said, "I don't know." But the fisherman asked the professor, "But sir, do you know how to swim?" The professor said, "No, I don't know how to swim." "Why? You come for fishing, you don't know how to swim?" He said, "No, I don't know how to swim. But we are in the middle of the sea, far away from the shore, and the boat is leaking. The boat is leaking, the water is starting to come out. And I can't save you because I can only save myself. I can only swim to the shore, my own. I can't carry you along." The boat is leaking, and the professor who want to go to the fishing in the high sea does not know how to swim. That's the essential thing that he should learn before he go far out in the ocean to fish. But he doesn't know. So when the boat sink, he will sink along. All right. Instead of swimming back to the shore of Nibbana, he went down in the sea of samsara. All right. Therefore, it is important for us to know our priorities in life, and we should focus on such priority in life, so that all of us also eventually be ready at the last moments of life, so that we can also eventually pass away peacefully, and hopefully in this life or in future lives we can attain the deathless state. All right. I think, brothers and sisters, the Dhamma, I think I will stop here. If you have any questions, I'll try to answer some of your questions. May all of you focus in your cultivation in the Noble Eightfold Path and penetrate and truly understand the Four Noble Truths and attain the cessation of dukkha eventually. May the blessings of the Buddha Dhamma Sangha be with you. May all of you be well, be happy, and be safe. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Sadhu to Brother Chim. You have given us a very interesting sharing, really the stories, message, learning the essential things. As you have used the story on the fisherman and the professor, telling us to be ready to prepare the end of our life. It's very practical, and many of us have forgotten about it, or we keep on postponing. A regular reminder will help all our devotees. There are things that we have to prepare for our loved ones. It's definitely very useful. Thank you very much. Brothers and sisters, you may post your questions in the comment box. I'm sure many of us are very touched by the sharing, as you have been sharing something very close to your heart, sharing your personal story of your family, and in particular, your father. We can relate your love to your family. We can relate how it goes when a person is so close to you and later have to leave all of us. Brother Chim, you have mentioned that you have been visiting the sick and those who have passed away, and you have conducted wake services for many years. Perhaps you can share with us what you do when you visit the very sick devotees. And the second part will be, you can all share with us what is your experience when you conduct funeral services, when you are meeting the families. Over to you, Brother Chim.
Yeah, thank you, Brother Choon. But to answer your two questions, probably will take a long time. But anyway, I think it's very important for all of us as a Buddhist to do so. The Buddha taught us that we should give our service. In fact, the Buddha himself is a very fine example of one who give a lot of services to those people who need his services. I think if you study the life of the Buddha, the 24 hours that the Buddha spent a day, he hardly sleep for more than 2 hours. And the rest of the day, he spent a lot of time to teach the Dhamma or to help people, people who are sick, people who are dying, people who are in distress, people in, having a lot of problems. The Buddha actually surveyed the world and went all the way out to actually help them. All right. So this is something which we do. And I realized that many people, when they're sick, especially, I mean those people who are critically ill, when you're going to visit them, when you do a little bit of chanting for them, especially you bring along a monk to chant for them, they feel so relieved, they feel so much better, they feel so much more confident, There are many cases of those that I have brought, the venerable members of the Sangha, whether Uriwata, Sayadaw Uriwata, or whether Venerable Yantaramsi or Venerable Intaratana, to chant for them. You can see all of a sudden the face becomes very relieved and very, very peaceful. In cases where we are not able to invite the monks to come along, even we ourselves, when do chanting for them, they feel grateful and very thankful. All right. And of course, for those people who are in bereavement, they will feel very grateful and very thankful when you go there and help them to have a proper, dignified ceremony for them in terms of their bereavement. I think, in fact, this is why sometimes the Christians, they are very successful. They'll be very happy to come along if you invite them to do all this ceremony for those people who are in bereavement. I think Buddhists, we have to catch up in that. Many of us are probably a little bit, like I say, they feel that uncomfortable. It's they don't feel comfortable to attend all this, but actually it's good in a way. After all these years, I can share from my own experience that you feel much better, you're more peaceful. I think you understand life better, you're a much better person. All right, I think there are many questions coming in, Brother Chan.
Yes.
I just stop here.
Yeah, can we have the first question? All right. Contentment is important in life. Do you agree, and why? This is from David. Over to you.
Yeah, but David, of course, I agree with you 100%. I always tell people that I live a life of contentment. You know, in fact, I am still in business, and I belong to one business group where we have a coach, and the coach keep on pressuring me to increase my yearly target. You know, and I used to tell him, why you ask me to increase my target for so much? You know, if I increase my target for so much, and if I make a lot of money without too much what you call sacrificing on my other balance in life, it's okay. But you ask me to sacrifice too much in terms of time for my family, time for SJPA, and time for my friends, and so on and so forth. What is the point? What is the point? I don't need all this money. I am contented with my life, you know. But that doesn't mean that, of course, we do not have any what you call objective or target to achieve in life. The Buddha taught us that it's important for us to learn nekkhamma, how to let go, to not be attached, to not cling on. But not clinging on is not to cling on, to let go of our clinging. All right, not necessarily to let go of all things that you have in life. But of course, if you can also let go of what you have in life, eventually, slowly and gradually, then it's a good cultivation. But first of all, you must let go of that clinging. All right, just like many people, you can see that they can let go of their house, they can let go of the land for other people to build a temple or build a folks home. You know, these are great things they are doing. You know, they are contented with what they have. Others, they can just let go. Okay, thank you.
All right, we have the next question from Gan Siu Hua. I've heard many stories of good, kind people being aware of their impending deaths, like your father and my great-grandmother. I think it is very real. Do you have any possible reason for this based on the Dhamma?
I'm not too sure whether my father is really aware of his forthcoming death. Maybe mentally they feel that the energy is really going down. You know, so maybe because of that they do have what you call a feeling that life is not going to be too long for them. My father himself is not, like I told you just now, he's not a particularly religious man. He hardly pray in his life. Even though I must say that my father is a very good father. All right, he hardly do any evil things in his life, except that he probably slaughtered quite many chickens for my mother. But it's a good intention to take good care of my mother, you know, not so much for himself. But other than that, my father is really a good man. But I think because of that, he is very peaceful, very calm. He committed hardly any evil in his life, except, like I say, probably killing some chickens for my mother. His intention is to good health for my mother. All right. So even though he may have break the precepts, but his intention is actually quite wholesome. It's for my mother. All right. So at the time of his death, maybe he have that kind of feeling that his energy is slowly drying off. Become lower and lower. Therefore, he know that his time is not far away. Right? Okay.
All right. Can we have the next question? Yes, from GK Tan. Thank you, Brother Chim. Cultivation is key. How do we start this with children? Share your experience.
If I share with you my experience, probably it's not a very good example. Those days when my children were small, my wife and me both were busy. SJB was started. Before SJB was started, I hardly know anything about Buddhism. I mean, to be honest, we started SJB basically more for community service. More because a group of friends decided to build a temple, specifically a Buddhist temple in Subang Jaya, because there was a church, there was a mosque, there was the Hindu temple, there's no Buddhist temple. That was why I got involved. All right, I got involved. Eventually, I mean, initially I hardly know about the Dhamma. Not, I think probably about 3 years after I was involved, then only I started to learn more and more. As I get involved in SJBA, I got to learn more and more about the Buddha Dhamma. All right, so SJBA was formed in 1988. We started in 1989. Our activities are in 1989. My daughter was born. My eldest daughter was born in 1989. I started my business. I was entrenched in 87, end of 87, and I start my new career again in end of 87, November 87. And 88, 89, 90, I was still struggling. Financially, I was still struggling. All right. And that was how my first daughter, eventually my second daughter, my son was born. During the early days, I hardly got time for them, actually. My wife also was very involved in SJBA, especially in chanting and meditation. So both of us really don't have so much time for our children, even though many occasions I told my wife, let only one of us be busy. I was the president, so I got no choice. So let me be busy and you please take care of the children. But my wife also was very busy. But I would say, in a way, I'm very blessed, very blessed. Maybe maybe my children have the opportunity to go to the Sunday Dhamma school and mix around with all those good Kalyana Mitra, And of course, the little that we know, the little that I try to influence my children, I talk to my children about the reality of Dhamma, the reality of especially of karma, that in a way influence them in their life. There are some stories which I can tell, but I don't have much time. How my children, especially my eldest daughter, transformed herself, changed so much over the years. I must say that a lot is because of the Buddha Dhamma that she has learned. Even now, like many people say, sometimes it's very difficult for parents to inculcate such teaching to the children. But I think we still should try. Every morning, when I send out all those messages to our members, to our devotees, every morning about the teachings of the Buddha from the Sutta, I also make sure that I send to my children so that they themselves are kept abreast of all these teachings of the Buddha. Okay. Thank you.
All right. Do you have time for another question, if there is?
Okay. All right.
All right. We'll post the next question. Do we have? Okay. From Paul Hyang. I know how can the chant in the week will benefit the passing away person.
Basically, chanting during the week session is more for the family and the relatives, basically. But of course, if the person will pass away, if he is reborn again as a spirit, and if he's born as a spirit and because of his attachment, he's still close to the family, and if he's nearby during the time and to the chanting, and then we know that we perform this chanting for him or for her, and we are doing all these good deeds and all those dedication merits for him or for her, he or she will benefit as a spirit. But of course, if she reborn again as a human being, or born in heavenly beings, or maybe some other realms, then probably even we chant for him or for her, that would not benefit him or her. But if she is a spirit, he or she is a spirit and is nearby, and he knows that we do all this chanting for her, he or she feel happy. Happiness is a merit, all right? So that's important when he have all this additional merits in him. It's just a additional fuel for him, so that the spirit can be reborn again in a better realm after he has got sufficient merit. Problem is there are many people who are not doing a lot of good things. At the same time, they don't do a lot of bad things. They do a lot of bad things for them to go to hell, but then they don't do a lot of good things enough for them to be born again in the human world or in the heavenly world. So when they pass away, there's not enough of this past karma or merits for him to be reborn again in a good plane of existence. He or she may be reborn again as a spirit, and wandering spirit. All right. So when the person is a wandering spirit, then he needs this kind of merits that we dedicate to him or her, or she listen to what we chant and happy, rejoice with what we are doing for him or her, happy with what we dedicate to him or her. With that merits, hopefully, is an additional push for him or her to be reborn again in a better state of existence. It's just like a car. When you got no more fuel, you need additional fuel. You're just putting some additional fuel for the car to move on in the journey to a new existence. Okay.
Right, let's go for the last question. We are running out of time. That's one last question, right? My question is, what shall we chant for people who is critically ill and about to pass on?
There are different sutta that we can chant, but the most popular one is this Bojjhanga Sutta. I think Bojjhanga Sutta is a very popular sutta that the Buddha even chant for his disciples when they were ill, basically to explain to them the factors of enlightenment. So with this understanding, or with this what they call the truth as chanted in the sutta, then may this truth, this satcha, protect and what do you call the hopefully that the person who's ill, he rejoice, he's happy, his mind more peaceful, that he can be recover quickly, or even to pass away, he pass away peacefully. Of course, you can chant all those Karaniya Metta Sutta and so on and so forth as well.
Sadhu, 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 Brother Chim. It's a very interesting talk, and it really goes into our emotions. We talk the subject on the death. Thank you very much, Brother Chim, again, for the Dhamma sharing, the path to the deathless. Brothers and sisters, this morning we have participated in the Sunday Buddha Puja service, listening to the Dhamma sharing and with detailed clarification during the Q&A session. With the merits accrued, let us share and transfer the merits to all our living and departed relatives, families and friends, and all beings. Transference of merits. Akasata cha bummata eva naga mahidika punyantang anumoditva chirang rakantu lokasasanang chirang rakantu desanang chirang rakantu mang parang ettavata cha amhehi sambatang punya sampadang sabbe deva sabbe sattva sabbe bhuta anumodantu sabba sampatti siddhya idang me nyatinang hotu sukita hontu nyatayo idang me nyatinang hotu sukita hontu nyatayo Budang me nyatinang hotu sukita hontu nyatayo. Imang no punya bagang mata pitunancha acharya nancha sabba satanancha sabba mitanancha sabba nyatinancha sabba petanancha sabba devatanancha bhajema. Imang no punya bagang sabba satanang dema sabbe satha sukita hontu. Imina punya kamena mame bala samagamo satang samagamo hotu yava nibbana pattiya. Idang me punyang asavakaya vahang hotu. Idang me punya nibbana sa pacayo hotu. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Brothers and sisters in the Dhamma, before we end, let us pay homage to the Triple Gem. Budang puji, Dhammang puji, Sanghang puji, Sukhi hontu. To all devotees, thank you very much for participating. We continue to welcome those who are participating near and far. Please help me to thank our speaker, Brother Chim Choon, and the organizing team. We have come to the end of the 33 online Sunday Buddha Puja service. Please refer to the Facebook of your society for information on the next service. With the seriousness of the COVID-19 pandemic, we hope you will continue to stay safe, stay home. May you and family be safe, well and happy and peaceful always. Sukhi hontu. Goodbye. Sabbe satta sukita hontu.
Bahong sahan semabhinim mite sayudantang ngirimi kelang uditego Sase